Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I am Tundu Abiola.
And I'm Biola Alabi.
Welcome back. I'm Veronica Odeka. Our first guest, Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi, is a diaspora and strategic communications scholar who is a senior lecturer in mass communication at Baze University, Abuja. He's also a public policy, political, and governance analyst, flowing from his vast experience as a former journalist with The Guardian and as a former World Bank consultant. Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi has now joined us from our Abuja studio to look at the ongoing visit of Atiku Abubakar to the United States and its likely impact on developments here at home as Nigeria closes in on a second presidential election in 4 years. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. Thanks a lot for having me on. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning.
Okay. So we know Atiku Abubakar has landed in the U.S. It has been all over the news and social media. There seems to be some disappointment on the side of the rivals. How much of a paradigm shift do you think this is going to be in his campaign, in the election, and also in just the general direction of where we're going with 2019 elections? How much of a game changer is this trip for him?
Well, we are in interesting times, actually, and what we're witnessing is actually shades of what we can describe as pre-election diplomacy. And pre-election diplomacy can take place at different levels. It can be top-down and it can be bottom-up. When it is top-down, you can say it's macro, and when it is bottom-up, you can say it's micro. The one being displayed, when it is top-down, again, it can be governments, powerful governments, influential countries trying to ensure that when there is an election in a smaller, less influential country, that the processes are smooth and the processes are credible and that they are transparent. Okay, but when it is bottom-up, like the one we see being exhibited by Atiku, you could see that it could be one way of ensuring that all the sites, all the relevant sites are probably covered. And when I mean sites, I mean all interest groups. It is not just about the local national interest group, but the international interest group is actually very important for any serious candidate wishing to be the president of a very important and potentially influential country like Nigeria. You know, so what is unfolding essentially is a process that you need ahead of a very significant exercise like an election. And Atiku, very largely, you know, has ticked a box that has been hanging on his neck for a while now. And having ticked that box, you could say that he has again reset the button and has put himself on a better pedestal as a contestant in next month's presidential election. Okay, we may not be able to put our hands definitely yet on what the outcome is going to be. You know, but then it is also very important, like I said, for serious contestants to tick all the boxes ahead of a game where they are participating, the presidential election, that is. Yeah.
There are some who are drawing parallels between this trip of Atiku Abubakar to the United States and the trip undertaken by President Muhammadu Buhari to the UK, where he addressed Chatham House in 2015, just before the presidential elections. What do you make of this comparison?
Well, it's very important, like we have, like I've tried to establish, for every serious contestant, you know, to touch all bases, national and international, ahead of an exercise where they are playing very key roles, where they are important stakeholders. And of course, you cannot undermine the influence. You cannot undermine the Anglo-American influence in global politics. America, United Kingdom are leading nations in the global sphere, and they're very strategic partners in Nigeria's development efforts. You know, so Atiku going to America is significant President Buhari going to addressing Chatham House is also is no less significant. You know, I think they are the aspirants, as it were, the candidates, as it were, the contestants are just being sensitive to processes and procedures that they need to cover, okay, if they want to demonstrate to the outside world, if they want to demonstrate to the citizenry that they are serious, not just in taking us out of our problems, out of the doldrum that we are in, but also in lifting us up at in the international circle. Nigeria is a great nation. Nigeria is one of one of the most populous black nations on earth. In fact, statistics once showed that we are the most populous black nation on earth after Brazil. You know, I will have lots of potentials at the economic sphere and at the political sphere. So internationally, at the level of foreign relations, we're also very, very significant. You know, and a potential leader, anyone that wants to lead us, must do what we could call some very significant public relations and image laundering in these critical international circles. You know, and of course, like I said earlier, you cannot downplay the Anglo-Saxon prowess, the powers of the United States of America and United Kingdom in global politics. It is even convenient to say that if you can hold these two countries, if you can get these two countries on your side, you probably have gotten 60% of the global space on your side, given their influence. So, if I have to conclude that, I would say that the aspirants are being sensitive, they are being strategic, and they are reasoning well. You know, what they are doing is actually good. They are expanding our spaces. They are letting us know that they are competent and capable people, okay, by carrying along all necessary strides in the electoral argument. Thank you.
Dr. Adeniyi, what would you say facilitated this visit to America by Atiku Abubakar?
Oh, well, if I had to write, what in specific terms brought about the visit?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it's, there are different processes, really. There are different steps. There are different levels of, there are different stages that a conscientious aspirant, you know, a serious-minded aspirant can activate, you know, to break many years of deadlock in his attempt to visit an influential and significant country like the United States. So many things could have been done, and so many local levels of lobbying would have been done. And there are stories, we have heard reports in different areas that the former President Olusegun Obasanjo was critical to Atiku regaining entry visa to the United Kingdom. And we have had different reports as well in social media, some of them plausible, some of them unreasonable, on what probably led to it. But I think the subject matter, Atiku that is only being smart enough, realizing that, you know, to lead a country like Nigeria, you know, and you are not able to visit a strategic country like the United States, you know, leaves a gaping hole in that ambition, you know, and I'm sure that must have activated him, that must have agitated him to the extent that he never rested on his oars. He kept on pushing to be sure that he is able to get the entry visa. And of course, you will know, it's also something very easy for us to understand that if an Atiku Abubakar, with all his political influence, former Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, a university owner, an American University of Nigeria at that, you know, a successful businessman, so to say, is not able to visit a country. You know, it takes a lot away. It chips a lot away from his influence, from his reputation, and from his image. And any conscientious person, in the manner in which I want to put him, should know that this is a blight that needs to be wiped off. And I think that's what he has done, really. And it is very, very important, very strategic that he was able to achieve this ahead of the election. We may not be able to say yet, like I said, if it's going to add to his fortune or to his chances in the election. But I would say that, it is good, not just for him, not just for his political party, but also for Nigeria as a nation. For us to have somebody as critical, as significant, as influential as Atiku Abubakar, not to be able to visit a country like the United States of America, it's not good for us, because Atiku is an epitome of a kind of height in this country. He has reached a height which is commendable, a former vice president, and being denied entry into a country like the United States. This is not being political, but just to say that with his height, he shouldn't be denied ordinarily, entry into an influential country like that. And I'm actually gratified that he has gotten over this, and we can move on from there, And eventually we might see that it might activate the election process again. The campaign process might be charged up. Then we can choose at the end of the day properly who we think is best to lead us from May 29th, 2019. Thank you.
Yes. Dr. Abiodun, talking about the chances of both candidates, like you rightly said, now we can move forward and just focus on the issues. Within the last year, from 2018, even recently into 2019, we've had a lot of issues on the table. In your opinion, which one of the major candidates can you say has really focused and been issue-oriented in this whole campaign?
Very good question, from there. First of all, I need us to be careful not to limit the elections to two candidates alone. There are so many other candidates, and many of them are also doing well at the level of ideas, at the level of rendition of thoughts, and at the level of conceptualization of their programs. And like I said somewhere else, I've heard about Swift, I've heard about Spencer Heath, I've heard about Next Level, I've heard about Let's Grow Nigeria Again. Many of them are coming up with programs, and these programs are symptomatic, of our growing political culture. Yes, we criticize them that political parties in Nigeria are presently just vehicles for the realization of positions, but we shouldn't be too harsh on ourselves as to deny the fact that we are actually growing. Political processes don't evolve overnight. We're making progress at very significant levels, and with the way they are putting together their programs, it could evolve into ideologies at some point. Not just with the so-called two big political parties, but if you look at some other presidential aspirants, some of them are doing fantastically well in terms of their determination and in terms of their understanding of the challenges challenges bedeviling our country. Okay, we can take this thing from this pedestal and hope that we'll progress from that. But for me to pinpoint one or two candidates or one or two parties and say they are best, or to say that their chances are brightest or brighter, is going to be not just unfair, but a dangerous exercise, which I don't think is appropriate to do. But I'm actually impressed, like many people have also said, that in terms of focus on issue, we're not doing badly. And I'll let you know, and this is my sense really, that there's a thin line between concentration on issues and detouring into personal attacks, especially in political environment. But largely, we may not be able to take it away from them that they have likely tried not to be personal to the stage, at least at the stage that we are in now, to the election. But we hope not anyway. But they have tried largely not to be personal. They have tried to concentrate on issues, and it is, if we can continue at that level, and if you add that to the gains that we made in 2015, we'll continue to harp on that really, where a sitting president considered defeat. If you add that to the fact that we're making gains now at the level of conceptualization of program, then you'll be gratified that we're heading somewhere, in the evolution of Nigeria's political culture. Yep.
Well, thank you, Dr. Abiodun. As we wrap up our conversation, I wanted to talk to you from a governance and policy perspective. You've worked with development agencies. You've worked across the world with development agencies. Now that Atiku is in the U.S., who should he be meeting with? What type of meetings is he having? This is early stages diplomacy, which you said at the top of the interview. What type of engagement should we expect from him while he's there? And so far, who has he been meeting? And what should be some of his takeaways from these meetings and his asks from these meetings while he's in the U.S.?
Yeah, very well. At this beginning of the conversation, we were talking about pre-election diplomacy, how it can be top-down, okay, at the macro level, and how it can be bottom-up at the micro level. Okay, when it is top-down, we're talking about nations, countries, relating with lesser nations. Okay. And when it is bottom-up, we're talking about individuals like Atiku, individuals, trying to cut the support, directly or indirectly, of very strong nations. Now, it is very important that he has done this, and I know that President Buhari and other contestants too are also not going to shirk responsibilities in this area. They are also going to be involved in it in different ways. Okay, it's very important for a nation like our own, where we are underdeveloped, where we are still developing, we have so many challenges, and we definitely need support of these powerful nations. There are so many ways in which we can collaborate at the level of economics. Do not forget that we're talking about Western nations. These are industrial democracies. These are nations with very strong economies, nations with very steady, predictable, sophisticated politics, countries with very strong militaries. They can help us at the level of security. Look at the problem we've been facing in this country in the last 9 to 10 years with Boko Haram. Okay, look at the unpredictable political climate. Every time an election is coming, people are scared. I mean, it's not supposed to be so. In other climes, when elections are coming, people are excited because we're going to see a rambunctious process. But in our own situation is a little bit different. And what about our economy? We're talking about poverty level. We're talking about joblessness and all such things. We need partnership, we need trade, we need foreign investment. Sometimes we've had reports of how multinational companies have been leaving this country. These are not good stories. These are not things that we should live with. Okay, so whatever any conscientious government can do, whatever any influential political personality can do to cut the support of these powerful, influential nations, I think is just very necessary, very important, and very required, really. Because we cannot continue at this level. Nations are leaving us behind. And Nigeria, it's not cost, and the ball is actually in our court, to make sure we pull ourselves out, but we cannot pull ourselves out in a vacuum. We need conscientious and determined leaders. So if they are offering themselves at different levels, through different ways, and using different strategies, all we can do is to invest our faith in them and ensure that we choose the best among them. Yeah, thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that, sorry. When you're saying invest our faith in them, if you take a look at the American landscape, America has become insular over the last few years. And so as you're saying that all these relationships and all these partnerships, on the other side of that, America has been extremely vocal about its warnings and fears of Nigeria having free and fair elections. Shouldn't some of our conversations be more on that side rather than on this engagement around business and sort of investments, especially when America is so focused on making America great? That's their slogan lately, and the current administration is focused on that. Sort of relying on other people for our development, isn't that a wrong place to put our faith? And is that what this candidate should be doing on this visit?
Yeah, very interesting question there. But you see, no nation can live alone. No nation is an island, and in international politics, in international relations, we also talk about vertical and horizontal relationship. Between us and the United States, the relationship is vertical. Between us and a fellow African country, a fellow sub-Saharan African country, for instance, you will say the relationship is horizontal, okay? But between us and America, it's not the kind of relationship that you want to undermine because for reasons around ego, okay? You cannot undermine relationship with United Kingdom, for instance, with Germany, with great European nations, with Italy, because of ego, to say that, okay, we can do it ourselves. Nations, don't forget that we're at par with some nations in Asia and the South Pacific those days, Singapore, Malaysia, China, where at a development par with them in the days past. Okay? But where are we now compared to them? They are far ahead of us. And when they were trying to develop, really, when they were working on their development, they never stayed alone. They were never isolated. You know, China, as we are talking, still send hundreds of people, of their citizens, to Western countries to study. An average of 30,000 Chinese students are registered in the United Kingdom every year. An average of 100,000 Chinese students are registered in the United States every year. You know, because they cannot do things in isolation, it's not to say that there are no quality universities in China, but of course they believe that they should externalize the gaining of knowledge before they can come back home and share it and produce it. Okay? The world is integrated. The world is decentered. You know, the world is increasingly becoming planetary. And you cannot sacrifice the gains that you're going to make from a vertical and horizontal relationship only because you want to be egoistic, only because you think that you can do it alone. Okay? Nigeria stands a better chance if we are conscientious, if we have leaders who understand processes and procedures, who we're not asking them to be slavish, but we're asking that let them make the best from whatever we can gain from relating with sophisticated powers. We know that these people also have their downsides. We know, of course, that they have their imperfections, but we cannot blind our eyes to the potentials a smooth relationship with them will give to us, you know.
Now, Dr. Adeniyi, you've referred to some of the points raised by Atiku Abubakar in his statement explaining his trip to America. He explained that he's gone in an effort to attract foreign direct investment, which has taken flight. He cited one or two examples and then proceeded to criticize the economic and foreign policy of the current administration, which is skewed towards China at the expense of the Nigeria-US relationship. Now, come May 29th, one of these candidates will be inaugurated. How would you like to see our president for 2019 to 2023 leverage on the interest that's been shown between the two superpowers, China and America, in Nigeria?
Another very interesting question. We could take us back to the history of Nigeria's foreign relations. You know, we have been, in the past, you know, very important member of non-aligned nations. In the days of the Cold War, in the bipolar world of those days, you know. And eventually, we once had a foreign minister, Bolaji Akiyemi, who brought up the idea of concert of million powers. Okay, and the attempts by all this movement, by all this organization, was just to explain our neutrality. And in further explaining our neutrality, we also said at the time that we're a mixed economy, which is that we can benefit from both sides. You know, we're not going to be cocooned to one section, to the west, neither are we going to be cocooned to the east. So somehow, yes, the days of brazen armed struggle is probably over, but we also have now, it has been replaced by the age of serious, frenetic struggle for economic supremacy. And of course, the two countries leading this race, you know, are the United States and China. You know, these countries are making progress, substantial progress at the level of economic development, economic sophistication. Okay? What Nigeria needs to do is, we cannot come out openly and take a side and say, okay, we'll only be relating with China, we'll not relate with America, or we'll relate with America and relate with China. We need to continue from how our historical trajectory has been at the level of foreign relations orientation. Our orientation is non-alignment. Our orientation is to be detached, okay, to benefit from all the sides. And it's going to pay us really if we do that. We cannot be a vassal of any superpower. You know, what we need to do is what I think we are doing. Whichever one is ready to play ball with us, of course, we get down to it with them. If China is beneficial to us, why not? If it is the United States, why not? You know, and that's why I'm saying that we need a visionary leader. We need a leader with a mission, a conscientious, suave, you know, intelligent, informed leader to help us play this game properly, countries have been playing it, and it benefits them in different areas. You know, we are also a very important potential for them at the level of labor, okay? And we are, just as we are, at the level of being a country through which they can wield influence on the African, in continental Africa. You know, so we're just there for them, just like they're there for us, okay? But how we manage it is what is most important in my reckoning, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. That was very insightful. We look forward to having you back again before the elections. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.